actually kill off Bokomon, which possibly triggers Gammamon for this week in episode 13, the Executioner. Oh Come on, come all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, you won't be for long. My name is toobaseddigimon and we are covering episode 13 of Digimon Ghost Game. And well, so much happened in episode 13 that I'm about to burst. I'm going to talk about it. From the vast multitude of Digimon features in Ghost Game, plus the extremely brave writing decisions from Toei, episode 13 really raised the bar. And we were this close to having that Simbara Angoramon Toobaseddigimon versus Gulus Gammamon, but alas, Angoramon just can't evolve. If there was ever a time to do it, this would have been the time. But let's dig into this meal, shall we? So week on week, in typical Ghost Game fashion, they build the suspense dramatically in the first half of the episode. There is an assassin indiscriminately hunting down Digimon and killing them. And it really built the suspense well because everyone was shitting themselves. With the combined efforts of the gang and Bokomon's lot, including Clockmon, they predict the next whereabouts of this assassin. Once they find the assassin, they find themselves underestimating his capabilities and he pressures them into a corner. But they can't escape every knife, leaving Gammamon out in the open, and then Bokomon sacrifices himself, puts himself in harm's way, and saves Gammamon from this assassin. This was a turn that I never really expected Ghost Game to have so early on in the series, especially considering he is this central leader, this professor, he is this role model. But I think that on the premise that they're going to work on Gammamon's character as a whole, Bokomon's sacrifice will be essential to his own story. But having watched Bokomon perish in front of his eyes, Gammamon evolves in a fit of rage, where the evolution sequence was the most raw thing I've ever seen in my life. Everything in the evolution sequence just gets sucked into this void, this black hole, and it explodes into this blue wildfire of which Gulus Gammamon emerges. And Gulus Gammamon surprisingly actually has a character that is very different from the others. Gammamon in the forms of Betel Gammamon, Chaos Gammamon, and Vezin Gammamon was still Gammamon, but Gulus Gammamon isn't the same thing. It is a very different entity, and I think it definitely showed that. There were very strange scenes of this kind of symbiotic relationship between Gulus Gammamon and Hiro, to the point where I think Gulus Gammamon almost took control of Hiro in a way, sending messages and commands to Hiro and trying to force him to make them. But after realizing their fundamental disagreements on how to deal with different Digimon, Gulus Gammamon kills Steelsdramon and decides to up and leave the augmented digital world, because he and Hiro just don't think the same. And Gulus Gammamon almost breaks out of this world, which is crazy, because that just shows that with a Digimon of a high enough caliber, strong enough, anyone can really break out of that augmented digital world, and it isn't really keeping anyone safe anymore, not as the threats will increase. So that's worth noting. But before Ghost Gammamon can deal the final blow to the gang, he notably doesn't want to hurt Hiro still, but I think he becomes overwhelmed with Gammamon's sadness and then falls flat on his face, and then de-digivolves back to Gammamon, to which Gammamon wakes up and cries his little heart out. I was a broken man. Blacktailmon Uva comes along and collects Bokomon's Digitama. There was a mysterious black Agumon overwatching the entire fight. That's extremely suspicious. And there's definitely an aroma of that main plot there lurking somewhere, but it just hasn't revealed itself yet. And the episode concludes with Gammamon having no idea what happened and can't remember a thing, because when he regains consciousness he's essentially back in the same emotional state he was before he went into a fit of rage. And Angoramon wraps things up with two poetic lines of having faced tragedy, the real journey of Digimon starts. I think that really rings true, and I hope he's correct for the next few weeks. This digital world that we haven't seen interests me the most because Bokomon spoke very briefly before his death about an assassin task force of which they can be funded to put hits out on targets. Does that imply the digital world has a political system, an economy, occupation? It already seems a lot more advanced than the one that we had from the reboot. Gulus Gammamon's debut really rocked their world. It showed their little digital augmented reality is not as safe as they thought it was. There's so much more I don't understand about Gammamon. With Gulus Gammamon defeating Toobaseddigimon so easily despite them being the same level, adds so many more layers of significance and importance to Gammamon that they're going to have to work out what is this relationship with this strange Gammamon form before something bad happens again. Gulus Gammamon kind of reminds me of Ghost Freak from Ben 10. You know how it's a part of the Omnitrix, but it's like a rogue alien? What if Gulus Gammamon in the future potentially gets separated from Digivice V and from Gammamon? That would be very interesting. I uploaded a video yesterday on the criticisms of Digimon Ghost Game fair, and clearly today a lot of people have commented, you haven't seen episode 13 yet?
Boy.
And let me be very clear about this, as much as I think episode 13 is a huge turning point for Ghost Game, I think it does correct some of the earlier failures of the series, but let's not forget, every single Digimon series that has ever been has had a handful of exceptional Digimon episodes, which no matter the overall quality of the season, will always be high quality episodes. I am very hopeful for Ghost Game, based on what we have seen today, and it definitely gives us somewhat more of a direction with Ghost Game, but one episode does not right all of the wrongs. We need consistency, momentum, and more of Gulus Gammamon. And in my opinion, I don't think this is going to be the last we'll see of Gulus Gammamon at all. You can see him again very soon, because after all these little friends that Gammamon makes on the sidelines, Monitormon, Clockmon, especially Clockmon, Pumpkinmon, the list goes on, Mummymon, they are all essentially walking opportunities for Gammamon to Dark Digivolve again. But how was the episode overall? It was the best episode so far. I think pretty safely the best episode so far. It sets up so much for the future, a lot of Easter eggs and new mysteries, confirms some of our suspicions, debunks others. Great action scenes, it was gorgeous, super emotional, bold. What more could you want from a Digimon episode? I mean really. This gives me episode 24 of the reboot vibes all over again, but I'm really hoping Ghost Game carries that momentum onwards, whereas the reboot didn't really do that after episode 24. We all know one-off episode's really great, but what matters is the momentum and what that episode ultimately amounts to in the long term. I think you can all agree with me on that one. That episode was so hype, it was phenomenal. I can't wait to talk about it for ever. But everyone, what did you think of the episode? Please let me know down in the comments. I could have said so much more in this video, but ultimately, because there's so much, I think it's for a different video or videos. And they'll come in the future, so don't miss anything. And I've also made plenty from last week. Put them on your watch list and watch them later, you know, at your leisure. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. But most importantly, take care.